Chapter 2. Which homes offer the best profits? We normally look for a home that we can buy for around $2,000 to $3,000, and can sell for $4,000 to $6,000. In my opinion, and based on my many years in this business, I've found that these are the type homes that offer the biggest profits, with the least amount of risk, and the least amount of cash invested. These homes are 10 to 20 years old, single wide, 12 to 14 feet wide and 60 to 70 feet long. One of the most popular and best-selling home is a 14x70, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. This is a very good seller and brings a good price. I normally don't like to buy homes that are more than 20 years old, but that's not to say I wouldn't buy one if I could see it was a good deal. In fact, some of the older homes might be in better condition than some of the newer ones, so that's not the problem. It just seems that when you tell someone that the home is 25 or 30 years old, there's a psychological barrier for that buyer to purchase one that old, even if it's in real good condition. We've sold several in that range and it turned out okay. But it's not as easy to do. But let me say also, if the deal is good enough and if it works for you, do it. Do whatever makes sense and will make money for you. So learn to recognize an opportunity when it pops up, and take advantage of it. I also advise against buying anything less than 12 feet wide, which would probably be the homes in the 1960s models. We bought a 1965 10x50 model one time that was in outstanding condition, and it took us about 2 months to sell it. We had a lot of people look at that home and they liked it, but we kept hearing the same remarks. My furniture won't fit, it's too small. We finally sold it, and because we bought it right, it was still a good deal. But I wouldn't buy another one like that, and I don't recommend you do, either. We stay away from double wides for several reasons. The main reason is because the price for a double wide is usually much too expensive and the numbers just don't work nearly as good as a low-priced single wide. In most cases, we can buy 2 or 3 single wide homes for what one double wide home would cost. Another reason is, if we should have to move and re-to-set the home, a double wide will cost about 3 times what it will for a single wide. Avoid moving the home. We try to avoid moving any of our homes, but there's always the chance that we may sometimes need to have one moved. Having a mobile home moved and set up is very expensive, so exceptionally good before we get into moving one. In most cases, the cost to move and re-to-set a home is enough to buy one already on a lot that doesn't have to be moved, not to mention the time and headaches involved. Also, by not moving the home, we don't have to deal with City Hall, building and electrical permits, and city inspectors. Our purchase price would need to be to illustrate my reasons for staying with the less expensive, single-wide homes that don't have to be moved. Let's do some comparisons. Suppose we have $5,000 to invest and we want to minimize our risk, maximize our yield, and do the deals quickly. Our minimum guideline is to sell for at least double what we have invested in the home. And we can do this much easier on the cheapo homes. Two $2,500 homes. Suppose we find 2 homes that we can buy for $2,500 each, and they don't have to be moved. Let's also suppose we don't have to make any repairs, or pay anything other than a little advertising, which for simplicity's sake we won't include in our figures. These homes are 12 to 14 feet wide, 60 to 70 feet long, and 10 to 20 years old. Our total cost in each one is $2,500. Now, let's sell these 2 homes and structure 2 different notes from 2 different buyers. We sell each home for $5,000 with a $500 down payment. Our buyers sign a $4,500 note, payable 12.75% interest, $175.96 per month for 30 months. Let's see how we come out on these two little cheapo deals. How we structure the note PMT 175.9612.75 amount invested and yield PMT 175.96 N30 NZ30 PV4 PV 2094.78. After receiving $500 down, we have $2,000 left in each home. Our total monthly payments on the two notes amount to $351.92, and we also have $1,000 cash from the down payments. As you can see from our chart, this works out to be a 94% yield. These are very workable numbers in my area, and we've sold many homes with prices and terms like this. You might have to adjust the numbers up or down in your area based on your local economy or cost of living range, but you should be able to follow these guidelines. But please don't get hung up on my numbers. If prices are higher in your area, then probably the cost of housing, wages, and other things are also higher. Just learn this concept and make the numbers work. It will work where you live. One $5,000 home now. Let's take the same $5,000 and buy one home. In order to meet our minimum requirements to sell for double what we have invested, we must sell that home for $10,000. So we find a buyer that will pay $10,000 for that home with a $1,000 down payment, to equal our total down payment on the two $2,500 homes. In order to get the same yield that we're getting on the two $2,500 homes, we will have to structure our $9,000 note in one of two ways. If we keep the payments the same, $175 approximately, we have to carry the $9,000 note for 75 months, which is 45 months longer than the cheapo homes. We can see from our charts, our yield drops to about 50%. Same monthly payment, approximately PMT 174.7012.75 amount invested and yield PMT 174.70.95 PV 9075 PV 4.000, or, if we structure the note for the same number of months 30 as the two cheapo homes, the buyer would have to pay $351.93 per month. We would be getting the same yield, but we would need to find someone that could pay double the monthly payment they would pay for a $5,075 ZIK home. It would be much more difficult to find a buyer that could afford the higher payment. Reviewing our charts, we see that in order to get the same yield as the two cheapo deals, 94%, the payments would be $351.93 per month for 30 months. Structured for 30 months, PMT 351.93 N30 N30 12.75 our investment and yield PMT 351.93 94.79 PV 9.000 PV 4000. Which home would be the easiest to sell? One. Which would give you a bigger return with the least amount of risk? Would it be more difficult to find one buyer with $1,000 for a down payment, or two buyers with $500 each? Would you prefer to take back one note from one buyer, spread over 75 months with payments of $175 per month, or take back two notes from two buyers, spread over 30 months with payments of $175 each per month? You decide which would be best for you. I prefer to get as much money as possible up front, keep as little money as possible in cash deal, and get my money back quickly so I can keep reinvesting in more little deals. The smaller deals are not only easier to do, but they minimize my risk, and at the same time, maximize my yields. So, for the biggest returns with the least amount of risk, stick with the older and cheaper mobile homes that will sell quicker and easier, with the least amount of your cash invested. These kind not only sell easier, but your money will compound much faster. And 2, there are a lot more people that can afford to pay $500 down and $175 monthly on a $5,000 home than there are that can pay $1,000 down and $350 monthly on a $10,000 home. Your word and a handshake should be better than a signed contract, but that's